that for God to do miracles, not such a big deal. God could do anything. The bigger deal than the big miracles that God did in the story of the Exodus is who he decided to do those miracles for. So if you look at the Art Scroll Chumash and how they title the second book, what's the title? Title is Exodus. What does the word Exodus mean? It's Greek or Latin for going out, redemption, right? So how come if I look on the Hebrew side, the Art Scroll, I don't know if they noticed this, but on the English side they put Exodus, which means redemption, geula, going out. And on the Hebrew side they put names. So the Hebrew and English, when it comes to the title of that book, don't match. Why is there this inconsistency? What's it based on? So it's based on the Greeks that decided to name the books the way they wanted to name it. So they chose to call the second book Going Out because they looked at the story and the climactic moment of the whole second book was the Jews leaving Egypt. That's the pinnacle, spitz of the story of the Jewish people. With great miracles, splitting the sea, 10 plagues. That's where Hashem really showed the world who's boss. He said, this world, I can do whatever I want with it and everyone in it. So when did God truly show his greatness? In the Exodus of the Jews from Egypt. And so the Greeks that certainly look at things from an external perspective. They beautified the external body and they looked at things that's on the surface. So on the surface, the correct name for this book is Exodus because it points to God's greatness and God's miracles. And what's the secondary names? What is names? Who cares about the names? These are the names of the Jewish people. Why call that the whole book? Imagine someone presenting this idea in Hollywood. I have the best idea. It's going to make billions. The next blockbuster, better than Avatar. By the way, what's the big movies lately? I don't follow anymore. What's the Avatar was a big hit?
I think they're redoing Avatar.
Oh.
They're the second one.
Anyway, it's the billion-dollar blockbuster. Forget about fiction. We have reality. The Exodus from Egypt. 10 plagues, splitting the sea. You want drama? It doesn't get better than that. So this man is pitching the idea, imagine in a world that this never happened. He's pitching the idea of this Exodus, and the director, the producers, they're sitting there. They're like, wow, this is unbelievable. It's a bit too over the top. No one's going to believe this ever happened, but it's a movie. That's the irony, because reality beats fiction every time. You think fiction is out of this world? Reality is more out of this world than fiction. Anyway, so they think this is a bit over the top. But hey, we're Hollywood. We're all about over the top. They're like, great, we're in. By the way, do you have a name for this movie? It's funny, you're mentioning, do I have a name? Actually, the name of this movie is Names. They're like, what? Names? What? Listen, the idea's great, we're in, but the name's got to go. And they start thinking, they're like, I got it. Exodus. And there goes the next big hit with, what's that guy, Russell Crowe, Exodus? Wasn't he in Exodus? Oh no, he was in this Noah's Ark business that leave it to Hollywood to mess everything up. The last movie about the splitting of the sea was even worse than the Charlton Heston version. All they do is play with games. They think they're God. There's a Torah, there's an Exodus. Instead of just writing what was the real Exodus, we have to make it better somehow. So they always mess everything up. But anyway, that's the point. The Hollywood director says, what do you mean names? Names? That's not a name for a movie like this. We'll call it Exodus. And that's the difference between the sages, which called it names, versus the Greeks, which called it Exodus, because they looked for the bright lights and the spectacular ideas of all the miracles. But now let me ask you now, so we've explained why the Greeks call it Exodus. Why did the sages call this book the Book of Names? The entire book is just called the simple Book of Names. What's so special about the names? What's so special about calling this book Names? Is it because it's like the third word in the book? So they found the first word? That's one answer, is that it's arbitrary. We just found the first unique word and we used it. But Torah is much deeper than that. And when the sages choose to use this name, the word names, to call this entire book by the word names, it's deep and it's prophetic and it's part of Hashem's Torah. So what is the big deal about calling this book Names? So I'll tell you, it's in one sentence. The sages understood that to do miracles, not such a big deal. God could do anything. The bigger deal than the big miracles that God did in the story of the Exodus is who he decided to do those miracles for. The point of the miracles and the entire book is the Eile Shemot B'nai Yisrael, and these are the names of the Jewish people. He did it all for us. He did it all for you, me. The names. What's unique about a name? We have also in the same book, right there, Rashi talks about what was so special of why God named us, why we have names, and why He counts each and every one of us. Each and every one of us, He counts, like the stars. So He brings from Chazal that God brings out and takes in the stars by name and by number. Every star has, according to this, a name and a number. Who can count the stars? Only Hashem. Who can count every single precious neshama of the Jewish people? Every single Jew, we think he's not precious. Hashem counts him by name and by number. He might look like a sinner. He might look like he's to us, we can't see his beauty. He's beautiful, and he's Hashem's child, and he loves everyone by name and by number. So while we're on the topic of names and numbers, let me ask you, if already Hashem gave each star a number, so it's counted. He knows where it is. He knows what it is. So why does it need a name? Or ask the other way. If you've already given every star a name, why on earth does it need a number? A name is even more unique, more specific than a number. Essentially, if I'm numbering everything, so it's quantified, it's indexed. I have it. I know my inventory. If I'm naming everything by name, then for sure I know my inventory because everything has its unique name. The answer is that the Jewish people have an aspect to them that is a number, and an aspect that is a name. And here we come full circle with this idea. From the perspective of the fact that we have a number, so you can only number something that's of same qualities. If you have something that's some things, a group of things that share the same qualities, so that unites them into a category. And I can number, I have 100 of X. I have 100 people because they're people. But if something is unique and it's one of a kind, then I can't count 20 unique things. That's not a way to count 20 unique things. If something is unique and nothing else matches it, so I have to give it its unique identification tag, which is a name. So there's an aspect of every one of us that is unique. We are all like God's only firstborn child. There's a level within each and every one of us that we're Hashem's Bechor. It says, B'ni Bechori. We are Hashem's firstborn as a nation, and each one of us is like Hashem's first only born child. But at the same time, we're part of Klal Yisrael, 600,000 root souls and offshoots, which equals the millions and millions of people that have been born. And in that context, we get a number because we're all the same.